all you viewers of every age, wouldn't you like to see something strange? Come with me and you will see this review on Halloween. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Hub. Happy Halloween to all of you. I am your host, GamerK, and because it's my favorite holiday, I decided to end the month of October with a Halloween review outside of doing my villain reviews, which I've been doing all month long. As you can see, I'm in my snazzy, well, not snazzy, kind of old Jack Skellington suit jacket, accompanied with the tails that I wore in high school, and I'm surprised it still fits. Plus, with my Nightmare Before Christmas shirt, we got Oogie Boogie and the Brats up front and center, and as you can probably guess of what I'm going to review. Nightmare Before Christmas has been a big movie in my life. I kind of watched it more when I was turning into a teenager, which may sound like a bad thing, but I became a fan of it nonetheless. It was such a cool movie, so many cool characters, and I loved Halloween in general, so having a movie based on that, and then twisting it into Christmas, was amazing. And in 2004, let's see, who made this? BVG, Buena Vista Games, concocted Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogies Revenge, which is by far an amazing game. Other game I can think of would be Jack Skellington the Pumpkin King for Game Boy Advance. Now, I'm not going to review that game because it's very difficult to review a Game Boy Advance game for me in general. So this game is the closest thing I could come with, and it is a amazing game. Now, in Jack's sequel adventure to his movie, does he keep the scares coming, or there are a little couple tricks and treats that ruin the whole experience? Well, let's dive in, ladies and gentlemen. So the game opens about a year after the end of the first movie. Now, although Jack is still trying to find something new to bring to Halloween, he's not taking over anyone's holidays because he learned his lesson back then. Now, I'm going to say this. Where Kingdom Hearts kind of took their own twist on in the Jack story with number 1, number 2, Chain of Memories, they didn't really expand on the story. I mean, the first one was before the whole movie, which kind of doesn't make any sense if you think about it. And the second one did a good job of implementing of how Jack came to Christmas with getting rid of all the other stuff. But this game is a direct sequel to the movie, and it's amazing. So after Halloween is over, Jack still wants something fresh for next year. So he goes to Dr. Finkelstein to ask some questions, and that's when he comes up with the main weapon of the game, the Soul Robber, which is that slimy green thing that's attached to Jack's arm. And I'll get to that in a minute. So, as Jack says that he's going to go out and explore more to find new ideas of what to do with Halloween, Lock, Shock, and Barrel overhear this and say this is the best opportunity to bring back Oogie Boogie. How do they do that exactly? Do they gather a whole bunch of bugs and just sew them up? Because Maleficent had to use dark magic in Kingdom Hearts 2, so I'm a little confused of how they're doing this. So it's about a good 2 months since Jack left. 2 full months, and he returns on December 24th. Of course. And as he returns, we find out that Oogie has practically taken over Halloween Town with his monsters. And I'll get to those when I do a diagnostic analysis of the game. So the game is pretty much taking over the town, beating Oogie's monsters and henchmen, and reclaiming all the holiday doors that have been taken from the hinterlands. Now let's get right to the gameplay. The gameplay is very nice. It's got great action sequences, semi-okay platforming and puzzle solving, and I'll get to the now. Let's get to the main points of the game. Now the combat is done very, very well. Starting you off with the Soul Robber, and also during combat, Jack can dodge by doing backflips and pirouettes and side steps. I'm not really sure, but it's done really well. The combat, you use the Soul Robber as a whip, and then as you do more attacks, it morphs into like the giant mace that you can see on the cover. Now, the combat does have a couple flaws. Well, not big flaws. Actually, the combat doesn't have that many flaws. I'm kind of misspeaking a little bit. I tend to do that when I love this, that when I talk about a game I really like, I kind of get a little jabbermouth, so I just need to quench my thirst. The way they do the health bar in the game is pretty good. In the top corner of the game, you got pumpkins, and every time you take a hit, you will lose a pumpkin. You lose all of them. You die. Basic cut and paste design for a game like this. Now, as you progress through the game, maybe after the first 7 or 8 chapters, you will get 2 new abilities in order for combat. You will get regular Jack with the Soul Robber, which is your main point of combat. Also, you can taunt the enemies to get your exclamation marks. I'll explain those later. After you beat the second boss in the game, you get the Pumpkin King ability, which lets you change into the Pumpkin King outfit, which I gotta say they did an incredible job implementing his outfits into the gameplay. With this, you use the fire ability, such as a fire bomb, which is like a big sonic wave of flames. You can use fire breath to burn enemies and objects in the game in order to progress. The Santa Claus outfit is not combat based and more kind of strategic based, as you will use the presents to scare enemies out of objects so you can progress and defeat them, freezing them with a frozen present. So yeah, I love how they implemented Jack's outfits into the gameplay. So kudos to them for taking every bit of detail into the game. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be a game like this without a shop, and the Witch's Shop is definitely there, where you can buy upgrades for all your weapons with soul coins as you defeat enemies and collect them throughout the game. So, and you can collect potions to glass bottles after you collect a good number of crystal skulls. You can trade them in, get crystal bottles, and fill them up at the fountain of the middle of the square. So it's kind of RPG styled adventure game, but not as heavy on it. It takes reference from it, but it's not heavy on RPG. Now, the levels in this game are beautifully designed, and I say that with all due respect to Tim Burton. And this is the kind of game I kind of hope that he had input in this, because this is beautifully done. Especially in the daytime levels, because we only get to see Halloween Town basically in like the gray area, like in the town basically. So we never get to see more of the world, which is a shame, because I would have loved to see more of this world of the Halloween Town. And in this game, we get it. We get it as more than we did for Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts was somewhat building a little bit on the world. This is enveloping you in the world, because we get the graveyard area, we get the residential area, we get the pumpkin patch, we get where Dr. Finkelstein's lab is, we get the hinterlands, we get a whole smorgasbord of levels, and it's beautifully done within 24 chapters of the game. Now each chapter is pretty well done. So basically you got to do a couple things for each character in order to progress throughout the level and throughout the game. It's not done too much where it becomes irritating, but it's done very, very smartly. Like each character, like we get the behemoth and the pumpkin patch, we got the hanging tree. you know what? I'm gonna go back on that and talk about what you do basically. So basically, in each chapter, you do little tasks in each chapter, and then after you so it's one of those games. So what you gotta help the citizens fix what's going on after 2 months of Oogie being in control, and then you get to fight the boss of the section. Each section's got its own boss, and I love that. It's not a game where you hope there's a boss battle and then it's a letdown, because those games really blow, and they're not fun at all when they do that. When they higher your expectations. Madness returns. So, for example, within the first couple chapters, you gotta find the clown in the sewer, and there is a lot of loading screens in this game when you go from area to area and little section to little section. So you'll find clown, he'll open the gate. In the graveyard area, you help the hanging tree by finding all of his hanging men, using Zero's help, which is okay, I guess, until when the monsters come out and the enemies come out, you have to defeat them before you can progress. So, because they lock off the area. So it's one of those games, and it's not that bad, it's not that annoying until later in the game when you gotta really progress. And then you gotta fix the prop up the tombstones, and then you get to fight the boss, or, what else? What's another one? You gotta help the behemoth by navigating through the pumpkin patch maze. So, no big thing there. The residential area is one of the more annoying levels, but I'll get to that again later. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. I will be right back. And we are back. Just forgot my notes. Doing half a review with no notes. I give myself credit for that, though. So where did we leave off? We were talking about the areas and the specific tasks that you have to do. So I did a good majority of those. Let's see, what to build. Here we go. So like I said, this game heavily develops the world of Nightmare Before Christmas, and not just gives you little snippets and bits. So yeah, building up on the... This is one thing that I think movie games don't really do that often. They just keep the world that you know and just add little side missions in here, like in generic areas, and take you to areas that you never really would go. This game, on the other hand, evolves the area, because we never see the graveyard that much. We see it like in the nighttime sections. We never see the pumpkin patch. We never see the residential area. We know it's there, but it's never really brought up. Let's see. Next up. So yes, as you progress through the world, you can definitely see they took attention to detail when planning it, because after you complete each section, the sun will go down, indicating that the day's almost over. So it goes from midday to sunsetting to sunset to nighttime, and it's really well done. I love that they did that in this game. A little extra detail that goes a long way. Now, the enemies are very fun for the most part. We get skeletons, we get ghosts, we get skeleton orcs, we get giant Vikings skeletons, we get the little toys that Jack made, Trick and Treat. Yes, those are the names. I find that hilarious. We fight them in order to progress throughout the game. And also throughout the game, within the first 3 sections, Lock, Shock, and Barrel will obviously always appear and cause you issues in every single way. And it gets... I mean, fighting them doesn't get that irritating. It just gets to the point where you want to take these 3, throw them in a bag, bury them for 90 years, and then see if they talk. So yeah, like I said, the game has 24 chapters, including 2 secret ones. So the secret chapters aren't really that good. You do one right before you fight the 3rd boss in the game, and it just makes the boss battle a little bit easier, which I appreciate, but it's not needed. The next one is a little bit after in the game, and all you gotta do is just fight a generic color copy of the 2nd boss, and it's not even that good. It doesn't have the same impact, and it's just boring. So secret chapters didn't really need it. So as I said, there are 7 areas in the game. There are the main town, we got the graveyard, the doctor's lab, we got the pumpkin patch, residential area, the hinterlands, and of course Christmas Town in the end. We have a little small section near the end of the game, but it's not a whole area. Let's just call it Oogies' secret lair and all that. Now, before I get to the boss battles, I need to get to some of the issues in this game. So, are there many? No. I mean, the game is fantastic for any Nightmare Before Christmas fan. I'm just going to say that right now. If you're a Nightmare Before Christmas fan, if you find this game, and if you still have a PlayStation 2, or if they decide to bring it for the PlayStation 4 and 5, I definitely recommend getting this game. It's fun, and it just makes you feel like you're in the world. So, anytime a game does that, I highly recommend it. So, the problems with the game, are there a lot? Like I said, no. Are there less, but do they have impact? Yeah, they do. Pretty big problems in the game, actually, but there's not a lot. It's just they're just peppered in here and there. For example, a good majority of the game is doing pointless and sometimes mind-numbingly stupid side stuff. For example, but luckily none of it happens near the beginning of the game. It all happens near the halfway mark in the residential area. For example, when we first get there, Clown's unicycle is going rampant throughout the small residential area, and we need to get a tool in order to fix it. But the problem is that this game has a real hard time telling you what you need to do in order to progress. Because it took me a good number of tries to do this. And I was young at the time, so I didn't really know anything of what to do. You had to find the tool, use one of your Santa gifts to scare Clown so he'll stop. And then you have to go into your menu and go to your inventory and then use the tool on Clown's unicycle. And oh my god, the using your items in this game is very, very strange. I mean, you have to go directly into your items menu and use them that way. You can't just hit the thing and if you have the item, it will go. It's just irritating having to do that individually, especially when you need to use multiple items at once. So it gets very, very frustrating right. I mean, it happens late in the game, but the minute you find out this problem, it gets tiresome very, very quickly. Another big example of that is the Vampire Brothers chapter, where you have to find all 4 of them in their bat forms while they're flying throughout the residential area and capture them with the Soul Robber. And it's irritating based on 2 things. One, they're flying around multiple times and you need to wait till the indicator is on them or else you're just soul robbing the air. And also they move around so much. And another big thing about this game is time-oriented, and I'll get to that again later. But the Vampire, I'm pretty sure we can all agree the Vampire Brothers chapter is the worst chapter in the entire game, because it's this big game of hide and go find, and it's not even a fun way. And the obstacles you have to get through to get all four brothers, it's not worth the reward of getting the keys to the mayor's house. It is beyond irritating, and I quite literally almost threw my controller. Now keep in mind, PlayStation 2 had a cord connected to the game to the console, so yeah, I was very frustrated at that moment. And also, like I said, some of these puzzles are very time-consuming, especially when you're doing a certain task, and then more minions come out, and you have to defeat them in order to do the thing, or else you'll keep getting attacked. So, yeah, the game, it's like the game is struggling with what it's supposed to do. Is it supposed to make it easy for you to do this? Is it supposed to make it hard? I don't know. It's kind of both. It's very surprising that that's an issue. Also, this game has the most absolute worst backtracking I've ever seen in an open world game. Because, like I said, a big part of this game's gimmick is a time for you to clear each chapter within a certain time limit. And again, I'll talk more about that after this. Its backtracking is beyond frustrating and absolutely horrid. Whereas most games, after you complete a chapter, it will start you off at a different vantage point. But no, you will start exactly where you last were in the last chapter. And again, when your game also has those barricades that stop you from progressing until you defeat all the enemies, and depending on how well you are fighting and how well you've upgraded your abilities, yeah, it's going to take a while, which lowers your grade very much. And that's basically an issue when your whole game is kind of, your ranking system is based on time, and you kind of deliberately, I mean, obviously that's a challenge, but when it's done so often, and when you have to go there, like in one chapter, you start off in the doctor's lair. You have to go, the doctor's lab. You have to go right to the residential area. You have to walk way back. You have to go all the way back to the town square and do like this little Halloween town quiz puzzle in order to get some items. Go all the way back to the residential area, and like the backtracking is so obliviously it's so obliviously slow, especially how the speed of Jack walks and runs. I mean, he doesn't move really slow, but it just feels like you're moving him, and it's like pushing your elderly grandmother in order to get out the door, but she's slow, that the more you push her, the slower you go. That's exactly how it feels when controlling Jack half the time, when you have to go back and forth between different sections of the game. Let's see, what else? So yeah, the backtracking is definitely an issue. The poor item usage system is beyond terrible, that not even the oldest World of Warcraft game would use it. Some missions can be fast or slow, depending if you are good at the combat or not. So, yeah, as much as terrible as these issues are, luckily they don't take away from the joy of the game. Mostly. Like, the minute you hit the middle mark, then you will start to notice the big problems. So, at least you get a couple hours of not as many problems, but they will come later. So, like I said, you get a couple hours in the beginning to relax and kind of enjoy the whole game, and then the big issues come out middle. So, that was well done. thank you for not having every single chapter be a chore to do. Now, the ranking system, like I said, every at the end of every chapter, you will be given a nightmare rank, which is your rank for the level, which is based on 4 criteria. Time, which means how fast you beat the level, and some levels require you to really be quick about it in order to get that S rank, or some of, because that's what like I said, with the constant slowing you down during certain parts of the game, it really hinders you. Combos, which is how many combos you were able to deal without taking any damage or missing a step. So that's pretty cool that they add that combo in there. Damage, which obviously indicates how much damage you took throughout the level. So be mind of that during certain chapters, because boss chapters, I will get to the bosses after this. And exclamation marks. So after you taunt an enemy, they'll start to get enraged, which causes an exclamation counter to start. So just like the combos, exclamation marks will happen when you do it repeated times. So yeah, in certain chapters, you will need to get certain exclamation marks in order to get a good rank. And so they tally all that up, and the best rank you get through S through D or F, I think. I think F's the lowest one. And after you complete a level and you get a good rank, they will give you a mini figurine of one of the characters, and I think that's pretty cool. that they did that to kind of give you a big accomplishment, so you can just look at these little dioramas or figurines of all the characters, and it's fun. I mean, it's not Godzilla or Star Wars EA. It's not as bad as that. It's not diorama mode. It's just figurines that you can just look at. And after you collect all the figurines in the game, you unlock the Pumpkin King's Unlimited Fire. Yeah, for the Pumpkin King's Fire ability, as you use it, it will deplete a bar. But once you collect all the figurines in the game, you get unlimited fire. So you can go back in previous chapters, do things better, and you can get a better rank. So I appreciate that you can go back to previous chapters with your new abilities. Now, the bosses in this game are by far my favorite thing in this game. Throughout the boss battle, they take a song from the movie, revamp the lyrics, and turn it into battle music. And not just the boss battles, throughout the entire game. And I find that very fun. Like, they took... And they even have the characters singing, which is great. Throughout the boss battles, you can hear all the characters like bantering back and forth in song. We got the Doctor versus Jack. We got Oogie Boogie versus Jack, obviously. Sally and Jack doing a duet within the second boss battle, and it just feels so good. But the boss battles are done a lot differently. As you hit the boss battle and deplete their health, they will release these music notes, which you will need to absorb in order to initiate the musical QTE moment. I cannot sing worth jack shit. I am very sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I am not a singer. But it's done very well. They sing throughout the song, and then when the counter's about to start, it goes 3, 2, 1, and then you have to do this QTE where all the buttons will go across the screen into a little box section, and you'll have to hit them in order to get, and the more you do it, like the more in the middle you get, the more exclamation marks you get, and the higher the combo will go, which adds to your overall end of level score. And it's done very good with them singing and dancing back and forth doing this. And if you do well, you can basically finish off a boss with that musical. And they're dancing, I wish a lot of games would kind of do this musical thing. It would be great to have a musical QTE battle for a boss fight. No, not like Atlantica and Kingdom Hearts 2. Not like that. Not like that. But the way they do it in this game, they only do it for the boss fight, so not throughout the entire game. It's done beautifully, and the way they revamp the songs, it just fits in the moment. They even do Take Our Town Back, which is a reprise of Making Christmas. They do one for Sally's song, Oogie Boogie song, Kidnap the Sandy Claus. All the songs get revamped in a very cool and satisfying way that fits with the game. They don't do it just to do it. They do it because it served a purpose in the game. And the boss fights are very, very fun. We get Oogie Boogie Shadow in the beginning. We get a giant spider that has Sally hostage. And the final boss of the game, I did this for my top 13 best bosses list. And if I ever do my top 13 final boss list, the boss from this game is amazing, because at the end of the battle, it's all QTE, and it's a big spectacle that if you're not good at the QTEs, you're gonna want to replay the boss levels and brush up a lot. So yeah, the entire game is a giant sequel, and it's a giant musical sequel, which is beautiful. It's a very well done video game. It's a well done sequel to the story of Nightmare Before Christmas. And just the level design, the graphics are really good for 2004. Everything just has the right amount of shading. Everything has the right amount of texture. And it's just beautifully done. And again, every level, like, I'm going back to the levels because they're one of the most beautiful parts of the game. They do feel like they do fit within the world. They obviously took reference from the movie, and that's great. How they created these worlds, because some of the buildings, some of the plants have the little twists, have the little creeps about it. That is what Tim Burton does. And it makes this world feel alive. It's not stiff. So, my God, even though my big gripes about the problems in this game, I still can't deny that that Oogie's Revenge is a game worth playing. And then some. So, because the story builds on the world, the game builds on the world, the story is satisfying. It's got humor in it. It just tracks well without skipping a beat. The boss battles are engaging and clever, fun, fresh, and for people who love musicals, it definitely adds that element. The platforming can be a little fidgety if you don't do it correctly. The combat is beautifully done, and it just works without any glitches. All the characters from the movie are in the game, and they did such a good job with limiting which characters are going to be put in. And just the entire game feels like heart went into this game. It took a lot of balls to make a game based on a very popular movie, like 9 years later. Yeah, 9 years later. And at the end of it, it paid off. No, not 9 years later. 11 years, because this came out in 93. And the game came out in 2004. So, an 11-year thing that definitely paid off. GamerK's final verdict for Oogie's Revenge is a hollow victory of an 8 out of 10 game. And I highly recommend this game for any Nightmare Before Christmas fan. If you have a PlayStation 2, or if they ever decide to bring it to PlayStation 4, I would love to see this game remastered. I would love it. And I'm pretty sure a good majority of people will too. Well, it's been a wicked ride throughout October, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for joining in. Like, comment, subscribe down below. And next is my birth month. So what am I going to start off with? How about let's continue a game that did go throughout Halloween, but let's point out all the problems that had during this. Well, not problems. Join me next week as I go through my ideas that were missed mission opportunities in, well, let's just say it was definitely a dark night. This is GamerK, logging out.